Is it any wonder why our once united people are so divided? Courtesy of the left wing in government, courtesy of GovEd, courtesy of debaucherously low-browed individuals in various left-wing movements and organizations. This country has gone from a nation that values common principles, common goals, and common standards into a country that promotes diversity, or more accurately stated, promotes division. The United States no more, courtesy of diversity. We highlight the crossroads America is at in tonight's preamble. Dr. Martin Luther King prompted our nation to unite and live up to our creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Dr. King wanted us all united as sisters and brothers dedicated to the principles that have led to unprecedented freedom, prosperity, and scientific achievement, all of which has done so much to ease the suffering in this imperfect world. Now, however, this founding principle in our Declaration of Independence has been turned on its ear by the American left. Instead of unity, the United States is being torn apart by Democrat division. Those who are opposed to American unity are trying to instill divisions that will last a lifetime into America's youth. That's why they've targeted your kids in government-run schools. Marxists know and they understand that hatred that is bred into children at a young age, it's difficult to break that later on in adult years. Leftists who run GovEd will have foot soldiers in their march to destroy the United States, and they'll have those foot soldiers for life. That's why critical race theory or its tenets have infected your once public schools. This trend has alarmed many parents as they don't wish their kids to be made part of the Democrats' hate movement. CriticalRace.org is a website created by William Jacobson, a Cornell Law School professor. The site features a state-by-state list of more than 200 colleges and universities promoting critical race theory, which he describes as, quote, a radical ideology that focuses on race as the key to understanding society and objectifies people based on race, end quote. Sadly, the infection has also contaminated many of our government-run, taxpayer-funded schools. The professor is 100% correct. CRT focuses every societal concern through a racial lens. CRT promotes eternal division along racial lines. CRT deems the United States a racist nation, as does its companion, the 1619 Project. CRT teaches children of color to hate whites based on the color of their skin by labeling all white people oppressors. Conversely, CRT teaches white children to be ashamed of their heritage and skin color. Now, this is going to breed resentment and will make sure this cycle of hate will continue for another generation or more, ripping the United States apart. Again, Team Biden is doing their part to keep America divided. Merrick Garland's Department of Injustice is suing Texas over their redistricting lines. Now, Texas stands accused, get this, of ignoring skin color in drawing of their district maps after reapportionment gave Texas more representation in the House of Representatives. You heard that correctly. Divisive left-wing loons are suing because the Republican Party didn't make a Latino district here and a black district here and a white district here. In short, Republicans ignored race, just as Dr. King envisioned. Texas was colorblind in redrawing their districts. So now Merrick Garland is suing, insisting that Texas create districts based on race. Folks, that's the definition of racism. Merrick Garland's Justice Department is racist. Meantime, Joe Biden continues to advance the Democrats' politics of division by telling all men and Latino, white, and Asian women that they need not apply for a vacancy on the Supreme Court. These people could be eminently qualified. They may be just as left-wing as Joe Biden, but their gender and their skin color will prevent them from getting a job in government. Joe Biden's government and Joe Biden himself have set up divisive and bigoted criteria to be hired in his regime. If America was united under the banner of freedom, the rule of law, and prosperity, in short, under the Constitution, nobody would be voting for those who support socialism who currently control the Democrat Party. That's why those who are in power are promoting this division, because a divided America is weak. And the people who like a weak America, well, they're typically communists, socialists and other collectivists who see the Democrat Party as their vehicle to achieve their goals, the downfall of the United States. In this liberty-loving Latino's opinion, our nation should reject the left's politics of divisive diversity and instead embrace the Constitution and Dr. King's vision of unity, a United States of America. It's our best shot at survival and maintaining our freedom, traditions, and way of life. A way of life, mind you, that is superior in every way to the dark vision of division Joe Biden's millennial puppeteers have for you and your family.